This is Warren and Mary bringing you another video in the A to Z series.
And as you know, in these series, we take photo terminology and we try to break it down in easy to understand nuggets of information. So with that being said, today's word of the day is burst rate.
And burst rate is the number of consecutive images a camera can take while the shutter button is pushed down.
Yeah. And it's typically measured, well, it is not typically, it's always measured in frames per second.
When the camera is continuously shooting, the images are stored in a high-speed buffer within the camera, and that usually limits how many images you can take in a row.
Yeah, so the burst rate is going to be the maximum number of images that you can take in a second. What is going to affect that maximum number of images is going to be how full that buffer is, and also how good or how slow your memory card might be.
Yes, so every memory card has a write speed, and that write speed is determining how fast the camera can write to that card.
Yeah, so if you're in a burst mode, which we'll discuss later, you're pressing the shutter down, and it's going to take continuous pictures. If you ever see a delay or it says memory is full or buffer is full, that's when your burst rate is being affected.
Yeah, and when you start to, a lot of cameras, when you start to get that buffer full, you'll start to go from fast continuous shots, and you'll feel the camera start slowing down, taking images, because it's trying to give itself time to write that buffer onto that card and free up space to put new images.
Yeah, but if you are into sports photography or wildlife photography, you'll want to look for a camera that has high frames per second capability.
Yeah, and a high buffer and a large buffer size. So a lot of the professional cameras you'll see will take many consecutive images fast per second, I mean numerous frames per second, but it'll also have a buffer that can handle that. So they'll to be able to transfer that to the buffer, and then that buffer can write it to memory card.
So if you're using a camera like that and you're trying to obtain high frames per second for sports photography, wildlife photography, that's when you definitely don't want to cheap on your memory card.
Yep, but if you're in the portrait realm, this may not be as big a consideration as a sports or wildlife photographer. You'll be taking consecutive images at times, but not the numbers that the other professionals in sports and wildlife will be taking. So keep that in mind as well. You don't have to go. And a lot of times you'll see cameras that are like the highest grade is for a lot like sports and wildlife. They have the big buffers, fast frame rate. And then the next step down will be like better resolution and higher file size, but less continuous and a little smaller buffer. Like there's two different purposes. So just keep that in mind when you're out shopping for a camera. What is your main thing you're going to be photographing?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what when people ask us what gear to buy, that's the first question we're going to ask you. So if you're going to ask us what gear we recommend, well, be sure you know how to answer that question.
Yeah, so keep in mind a lot of higher end cameras will go from 8 to like 20 frames per second in the SLR range, and I know mirrorless is even going well beyond that because there's no shutter lag, no shutter timing. They can do a lot of frames per second, so keep that in mind. It's not click, click, click. It is high speed shutter release. So
yeah, so if you're practicing this and you're having any kind of problems or you're excited to share your results with somebody, look for us on Facebook. We have a community of photographers. You can search Exploretography, a community of active photographers, and it will pull up, request to join, we'll add you, and we can't wait to see what you're doing with your burst rates. If you like this video, if you like these short little bits of information, please subscribe to our channel. Let us know below in the comments.
Yep. And until next time, explore,
create, and
do good. Bye,
See
guys.
ya.